we are continuing in chapter 7. Yesterday we spoke about the true and direct path to what tshuva, what penitence, repentance means. The first thing is compassion. Compassion for the real you. Who's the real you? Divine soul. Whole, complete, worthy. That's the real you that came from a lofty place above. From a divine place above. Second. From a lofty place above. And it fell to a low place down here, into a pit, shall we say. And of course, when we did something wrong, what happened? It brought us even further down. Have compassion over what? Who you really are. And actually also over God, because He's the source of who you are. That's a very powerful idea, to have compassion. That's a very powerful sentiment. Compassion over the true you that we didn't live up to. And compassion that we've affected God in an ill way. And we've affected ourselves in an ill way. So the first thing is recognize who you are. How great you really are. And that greatness you didn't live up to. Have compassion over the greatness of you that you've affected. And not only that, but over God and how we've affected Him. God makes Himself vulnerable to us that we can affect through our actions, through our words, through our negative thoughts, and bringing down the Shekhinah. That's the first thing. And why is that the first thing? Because if you don't know who you are, and you won't have compassion for the true you, then what's going to happen is your ownership of facing your stuff, you won't do appropriately, and all you're going to end up doing is stuffing your face. Because it's going to be too painful. But if you recognize the true you, right, the great power within you, the great person that you really are, and through this negative action, that it brought you down and you didn't truly reflect the true nature of who you are, and that you've affected God in an ill way likewise and brought Him down, the Shekhinah, the divine presence, that's something to have compassion over, recognizing your greatness and how you didn't live up to it. But this is you, is the true greatness of your soul. Now, when you own your stuff, you'll be able to face your stuff with full vigor, with full engagement. And as our Alter Rebbe says, broken and humbled. Broken and humbled by what you've done wrong. There's not that you are broken, but what you did was broken. It doesn't change who you are. You're still this godly soul. You're still a godly individual. But what's broken is the way we engaged, and that we want to own totally by true humbling of the heart, so that there's a sense of being broken. And this is the idea of what's called Mara de Chushbana, a master of accounts, completely owning your stuff. Now, back in the day, that would include fasting. That would include a Tikkun Chatzos midnight prayer to contemplate, the negativity that a person has done and what they've done to their soul and what they've done to God, right? As we explained yesterday at great length. The divine soul being uprooted from the divine source of life. And that we became a vehicle for negativity, for the Sitra Achra, for the other side. Not to get our divine life force from God himself, from his holiness, his divinity, but to get it from a negative source of Klipa, Sitra Achra. And this is the Alter Rebbe says, is what it means that the wicked, while they're alive, they're called dead. This is not to make fun of those who passed on, right? It is to actually, what does it mean that the wicked are called dead in their lifetime? It's interesting. The righteous are called alive when they pass away. The wicked are called dead in their lifetime. Why are they dead? Because they don't own their lives. They don't face their stuff. Therefore, they only do is stuff their face. That's called being dead. That's called the walking dead. Yes, maybe you're taking up space, maybe you're walking, but you're not truly alive. Truly alive actually means owning your life. That's what truly alive is. Otherwise, you're just on autopilot. And autopilot, what we'll end up doing is stuffing our face. Because it's too painful to face our stuff. Why is it painful? Well, because we didn't start off with the right thing. We just start off with how bad I am. And therefore I'm ashamed. I feel shame. That's deadly. Because that will make me feel alone. And that's wrong. You're not alone. So the first thing is recognizing you and the greatness of you and your divine soul. Now you define, through your actions or your words or your thoughts, you brought it into a negative place. And you've even affected God in a negative way. But that's temporary. It's not defining me. It's not who I am. And therefore I have compassion on the true me. That through this action I brought me down. I brought God down as a result too. And I don't want to be the walking dead, not to own my stuff and just to go through and, feel okay about myself. And by the way, when you don't own your stuff, what happens? You got to feel good about yourself, and that's why you stuff your face, because you look for comfort food to comfort yourself because you're feeling uncomfortable with something that you did. So what do we have over here? So again, the first thing is compassion. Compassion over the real me that I fail to live up to. Even compassion on God, that I brought God into a negative place. I brought me into a negative place. So the first thing is able to put yourself, who you are, You're whole, you're complete, you're worthy. The compassion is, I did something broken. Now it's not defining me. I am not broken, and that's why we'll feel shame. We will feel shame because the broken thing I did, I'm defining myself by it. Or people will define me, or I define myself by that. No, don't define yourself by that at all. Know that you come from a lofty place. Your soul is part of God. Yes, and have compassion over that. Not shame, compassion. I am better than that. I am. The Shekhinah is within me, the divine presence. And then, once I do that, now I could be a master of accounts. I could own my stuff. I could look at myself and be broken by what I did and fix it and take complete ownership. And not allow myself to be a vehicle for negativity. That the Sitra Acher Klipa should have any dominion over me, which is the walking dead. That they're not really alive because they're not facing their stuff. So meditate upon this. You're not rotten. Oh no, you're a lofty soul. You're not rotten. You're a lofty soul. What I did was rotten. What I did was rotten. I can face that. That I know that it's not I'm rotten. No, I'm lofty. And live up to it. So that's something to have compassion over. And of course over God that I've affected in that manner too. And think about and meditate upon that. And then I can fix anything. I don't need an excuse. I don't need to excuse myself. Yeah, we had an amazing discussion about this yesterday in TRC. Very special. Which I invite everybody to come and join. Any questions, any comments? Again, I don't know what it is. I'm having a difficulty with the feeds. So if someone has a question on Facebook, please put it in now. If you put it in already, put it in again, please. Eileen, if I cannot be accountable to ourselves, how can we be accountable to God? You're right. Well, if we understand that being accountable to ourselves is being accountable to God, it's one and the same thing. It's one and the same thing. Yeah, Joseph, I answered your question. I saw your question and I answered it while we were. Anybody on Instagram? Rachel has a question on Instagram. How does this apply to those who stuff their face to find comfort in not being able to deal with something someone else did? So I don't know what that means. Something that someone else did. What does that? I'm not certain what that means. What they did is not for you to own. You can't own someone else's stuff. You can only own your stuff. Your life you can own. You can't own someone else's. You can support somebody, can guide somebody, teach, but in the end a person has to do their thing, right? They have to own it and deal with it. So, if that's what you mean, Rachel, so no, you can't do that. Give me one brief moment. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
I'll run 2 wires because you're going to want maybe wire.
Okay. Smart idea. You want? We have wire downstairs. Take from what we have.
Whatever you have on you.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Okay. So, very powerful teaching. Bella, stuffing your face can also equal addiction. Yes and no. I don't. It doesn't have to be an addiction. I mean, we're ashamed. We're afraid. And therefore we're afraid. From that fear becomes a shame. The fear brings greater shame. And the reason is, again, because the first part, we're missing the compassion. Compassion doesn't mean here, mistakenly, that we're forgiving ourselves. No. How do you forgive yourself if you did something wrong? Own it. Don't be forgiving of yourself. Own yourself. Right? You can be forgiving of the circumstance or accepting of the circumstance that this is your challenge. This is what you need to deal with in life. But you have to own that. But before owning it properly, know who you are. You're complete, you're whole, you're worthy. You are a divine soul. And because of that, that's your real identity. That's your self-definition. That's you. That's you. That doesn't change because you did something wrong. That's why you have compassion, because, hey, I didn't live up. I did not live up to who I really am. That's a sense of pity, compassion. And then you could take whatever it is and have a contrite heart. Ultimately, do we only give an account to our own life choices? Yes. Yehuda, regarding having compassion on yourself, is it about recognizing our capacity to do, to be better, rather than condemning ourselves? So you condemn, you are contrite, broken about what you did, but you're not condemning. You are broken by that, right? John, is this related to Jacob cursing the action of Shimon and Levi? Jane, can this lead to narcissism and taken to the extreme? I'm not certain. What's the narcissism over here, Jane? You have to be a little more clear. I'm not certain what you mean by that. Yes, there was a condemning of, to take responsibility. Yes, ownership. Yeah. Eileen? What if you hate yourself? You can't hate yourself. What if someone abuses another person and is abused as shameful of action? If you're abused by another person, no, you can't be abused unless you allow yourself to be abused. Let me explain that. I mean, if you're a child, it's one thing, you don't have control, but you have control. I mean, unless you're incarcerated and you're being abused, right, in some physical way, but you can choose not to be abused. if you're an adult. I'm talking about a little kid now, right? No one hates themselves, by the way. Even when someone is so negative about themselves, you know where that's coming from? Self-love. The fact is, everybody loves themselves. Some people express it by being enamored by themselves, you know. They look in the mirror, I'm so beautiful. Right? They look in the mirror, oh, I'm so ugly. You know what? Both are self-love. One's positive, one's negative. I mean, expressed in a positive way, one's negative. Both are self-love. There's no doubt about it. When is it not narcissism? When is it not self-love? Is when you do what the Alter Rebbe just explained to us. Right? That's not narcissism. That's leading a proper life, as the Alter Rebbe explains to us. Okay, excellent, great questions. Thank you all. What if you're dealing with many medical issues and can't find healing? There's difficulty being everything you need to be, close to Hashem and having compassion on you. That's a very good question, Sarah. I mean, that's a different issue than what we're talking about over here, just to make sure we have clarity. It's not the same issue. Let me think about that, okay? Okay, Margalazata and Davida, you have to put your questions in again. I'm sorry. There's something wrong with my feed that I'm only getting a partial feed. I'm not getting everything, so you'll have to put it in again. I'm sorry. Okay, I don't see it. All right, folks. We're going to continue our conversation. We're not over. We're far from over. Okay. Michael, please share with us.
Have I first to fix the broken heart when I understand that I sinned and that I feel unworthy, and what we spoke the last days about it? Is there a relation to the broken vessels? Have I first to fix myself before I can fix the broken vessels?
What vessels? What are vessels that you're talking about?
The Zephirot, the broken vessels.
No, fix yourself. No, don't worry about vessels. Yeah,
there's no relation. Okay.
No.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, folks. Our conversation is going to continue. Rambam is coming up right next. Come and join us. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing, wonderful day. Thank you for joining.